Okie dokie. We are going to do step number 33, which is the motor mount portion on the motor. You have two pieces. We have a plastic piece and we have a metal piece. We're going to match these two up, and there's little feet here that will mount up into the holes here. You want to make sure that the hole is even there as well. It makes a little donut looking piece. Now the metal piece we want to mount in, or the thinner piece, the metal one, we want to mount in towards the motor. So we're going to hold the motor in the position that it is in the directions with the cords facing that way, and we're actually going to tilt it up here. And we are now going to mount this unit on, and it's kind of funky the way it fits on, but it is going to fit on just like this so that these two holes line up with this hole and this hole. And it's kind of funky because it's offset, but that is the way it is. We're going to use a little bit of thread locker here. You notice I didn't call it Loctite. We'll go ahead and line this up. Oh, see, our holes didn't line up there. I must have put that on wrong. See, I'm not even following my own directions. We might have to flip that little puppy around. See if that works. There we go. Now our holes line up. Okay, so we want this on like EA. There we go. Go ahead and screw that one in. Then we'll screw this one in. I'm going to do these by hand. Just going to make that one touch. Go in by hand on this one, and then we can torque these down. Nice and tight, but you don't want to strip it out. Okay. And that, my friends, I think is what it should look like, according to the directions and the screw placements and everything, but we'll find out when we go to hook it up whether it's on right or backwards. So that is that. Now let's attach the pinion. We are going to need to do some adjustments on the pinion later after it's installed. So we are going to put Loctite on here, and we are going to put the pinion on, but we're not going to really crank down on it. So get your little set screw, let's put it into the pinion, and we will mount the pinion on here. And let's go ahead and just put it on as far as it'll go, because we have a issue with the Allen wrench, and that's as far down as it'll go, and that's about even or so with the top of the shaft. So is that right? Don't know. I hope it's right. We'll find out. Okay, so we have now accomplished step number 33, and we will move on to the next step. Okay, here we go round. Step number 34. Okay, let's place the motor into the transmission. There's a groove on the mount here, and there's a part that sticks up here that it's going to slip into. So let's slip it in there. And you're going to notice that at this point, depending on how you rotated it, they're not touching. So the premise here for gear mesh is as you rotate, I'm trying to get the gears to line up properly here, as you rotate it, you can adjust your mesh. And you keep going around till it gets tighter and tighter where you want it. And that sets your mesh, which we'll do in just a little bit. But first, what we're going to do is to put the cap on here loosely. This is the cap, and actually the adjustment, it holds it in and tightens it down so that it doesn't move. So let's go ahead and slide that over, and then we're going to use one of the larger screws with a washer over it on each side. I think these are the biggest headed screws we've worked with yet. Put those in. And we're not going to tighten them all the way down, but we're going to get them close. And then we're going to set our pinion height, and then we are also going to set our pinion mesh. May have to loosen these up a little bit, but we're just getting them started in. We still want it loose enough that this is going to turn. Okay, we're going to set the height of the pinion gear. You can see right now that the pinion gear is lower and is not making full contact with the spur gear. You can see how much lower it is there. We're going to loosen the pinion up, assuming I can find the right tool. There we go. And we're going to raise it up until it's exactly even in height with the spur gear, so it makes full contact top to bottom, and tighten it up. Okay, there we go. Now we're going to set the mesh. The mesh is the distance between the two gears. Okay, if it's too loose, it's going to strip them. If it's too tight, it's going to bind. So, how do we do that? You can do it by hand and by just rotating it around and doing it by feel. You still want a little bit of play, but you don't want it to lock up and bind. And you're going to want to spin. Boy, that motor is tough. You're going to want to spin it around to make sure that you actually have the same amount of play all the way around the gear. That's a tough motor, because a lot of times the gears just are not true. So I'm just going around and testing to make sure that we have the proper amount of mesh all the way around. I'm thinking I can go a little bit tighter. See, nothing now, that's too tight. Now the other way to do this is to use one of your little plastic baggies and thread that through the gears and tighten it down. Boy, that's a stiff motor. And get it out, and it's still too tight. That is a stiff motor, my goodness. Okay, it's hard to see, but I just want a little bit of room in there. So that's where it's going to be. A lot of times too, when you tighten them down, it changes. So we'll throw that into the equation here. We'll go ahead and finish tightening down the motor mount. check it again after it's tight. See, there's one spot on there that is tighter than the rest, but it's still acceptable. Yeah, one spot in there. Okay, I know it was kind of a long session there on mounting a motor, but it is important that you do get that mesh right and you understand how to adjust it. Make sure your motor mounts are completely tight, and that is not the last step. We are going to grab the cover. I almost forgot about the cover. And we are going to screw on the cover now that we're done. And the cover will very simply, these little tabs here with the holes are going to line up with the little tabs on the top. And that will screw on just like so. And we're going to use the two little plastic screws, or actually they are metal screws for plastic. Here's one, here we go, here's the other one. And we will screw those two in there and complete step number 34.